Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. And if it's your first time here, I'm Janetta, an author who loves to draw. On my channel, I focus on combining storytelling with art. If that's something you're interested in, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let's get to it. Chapter 27. Frustration was not an adequate word for what Dante thought Lang was feeling. He moved through the street traffic, heading to where they thought Hunter would be. Lang continued calling Hunter from both Dante's and her cell without any success. She hung up after another unsuccessful attempt. Damn, he's not answering his cell. Dante began to slow down, then pulled over less than half a block away from the club. Lang looked over at him. What's the problem? Dante looked forward. Several men in black were at the front door of the club. Why are they stepping back from the door, he asked. They didn't have time to speculate as the doors of the club exploded and the group of men rushed inside. There's too many of them. Is there a back door? Lang inquired. Maybe we can get to Hunter before they do. Dante started evaluating what was the best place to set his sniper rifle up to take them out as they came out of the door. There's a back door, but by the time we get through it, they will have grabbed him and gone. We can't let them take Hunter. Lang reached in the back for the duffel bag with the big guns. We're just going to have to play this one by ear, he said, even though he was working through a plan in his head. Dante opened the door just as the phone rang. Lang grabbed his arm, showing him the screen quickly before answering and putting it on speaker. Dante closed the door, keeping an eye on the club. Hunter, where are you? Lang asked. Heading home. Don't think that's a good idea. You have visitors. Once they realize you're not in the club, the next spot they'll visit is your home, Dante stated, starting the truck. Won't be there long, just needs to pick up a few things and head out, Hunter replied. Unless it's absolutely necessary and I search for Brooklyn, I would suggest you find somewhere else to go. There's no guarantee there's not a welcoming party already there. Dante imagined Hunter debating the pros and cons as he explained. If we take the file off your hands, we may also take the target off your back. I'll happily hand it over to you, Hunter stated. Dante backed the truck into a side street and turned around, heading away from the club. Where are you? Maybe we can do a quick handoff. I'm about 20 minutes east of the club, Hunter paused. I do have a couple of questions. Who is Dr. Kane Laporte, and why is he pretending to be Alex Michaels and Alec McNear? The blood drained out of Lang's face. Shocked, she fumbled to catch the phone as it slipped out of her hand. She accidentally hung up on Hunter. Dante knew his face probably looked grim also as he picked the phone up and dialed Hunter back. He held the phone in one hand, driving with the other. Hunter, sorry about that disconnect. Did you say Kane Laporte? Yes, according to Alexis, the picture in the file that says the real Alex Michaels, a.k.a. Alec McNear, is Dr. Kane Laporte. If that's true, you need to stay off the radar. If it's Kane Laporte, he's not trying to allow anyone to live that knows his true identity. When I Googled Kane Laporte, the picture online matched the picture in the file, but according to the article, he's dead. Hunter paused and muttered, I don't like the implication of a crazy man who was believed to be dead having Brooklyn. Dante didn't respond to Hunter's almost inaudible mutter. Instead, he explained, we're going to find somewhere safe to lay low, but don't access any more information on Kane Laporte. He has someone on his team his wife, Megan. Wait, how do you know about her? She's in the file too. Dante kept looking over at Lang, who finally snapped out of her shock. Her fingers were now flying over her keyboard. Hunter, meet us at... Lang read off the address. I'll have our team look out for you. What are you driving? Lang typed in the information as Dante took the turn to head to the safe house. We'll discuss the rest of the information in the file in person. Lang and Dante drove in silence, both lost in their own thoughts. Hunter agreed to turn the file over, but he intentionally failed to mention that he was going to first stop by the office of one of the apartment complexes he owned so he could email a full copy of the file to Vince. He came up the private elevator and entered the office that he barely used. After he was satisfied that the scanned files were successfully emailed to Vince, he headed out to meet Dante and Lang. The atmosphere was intense as Kane explained the new plan to Gus and Megan. At the conclusion, Gus stood without a word and exited the room. Megan was furious. Her face reflected her displeasure. She got up, walked over to the window, and looked out into darkness with her arms crossed. Kane stood and walked over to her. Baby, we have no choice. If Dante and Lang have that file, they know I'm alive. I'm fine with you setting a trap to take them both out, but I don't understand why you sending me after Aaron's slow behind, Megan stated, sounding extremely frustrated. Well, his slow behind, as you said, might be able to lead us to Tuck's vault. Kane smiled, knowing Megan had no clue of the true importance of the information his former ally placed in the vault. Why do we need to access that money? I can hack some zeros into our account. I'm sure you can, Kane replied, as he wrapped his arms around her waist, placing a kiss on her cheek before leaning his chin on her shoulder. But the information that's sitting along with that money can't be hacked into our possession. Damn it, I wish I could do that, she pressed against him. He turned her to face him and stated, I'd do anything to make it possible for us to live our lives outside the shadows as Mr. and Mrs. Alex Michaels. She tilted her head, looking up at him lovingly. We weren't supposed to bring any unnecessary attention to ourselves, but that's all we seem to. Kane took her by the hand and led her over to the couch. Once we execute the last of the people that will recognize me as Kane Laporte, we can't kill all your old patients, girlfriends, or my parents for that matter, Megan interrupted, sticking her hands into the back pocket of her jeans and refusing to sit. I know that once someone recognized you, you got obsessed with locating the information and getting revenge. But Kane, you need to get used to calling me Alex again. He sat down on the couch, pulling her down into his lap. Kane Laporte is officially dead. We're trying to keep it that way. The only ones we need to remove are the ones that will want to put me back behind bars. His hand slowly moved up and down Megan's leg. Alex. When we got you out, we were living happily as the Michaels of Trivision, staying low-key but living the life. I was loving it. Megan didn't understand why he wasn't willing to do what was necessary to maintain that. He started placing light kisses on her neck. You know that one call from some stranger in the middle of the night ruined that. He's dead, she reminded him, moving her neck away from his lips. As he nuzzled into her neck, he mumbled, but the information he held over us still remains with his possessions in Tuck's vault. She slid off his lap and onto the couch. We both knew that buying into Tuck's company probably wasn't going to be enough to give us access to that part of his business. But when we decided I'd go in, I just didn't expect. Look, it was a challenge, but we finally know about the vault. We also know we need someone with authorization or who is highly skilled to get in. He turned his body to face her. Taking his finger and turning her face towards him, he stated, That's why Gus is finding Ryan. Your task is to find Aaron, and my task is to neutralize Dante and Lang. She fussed. I don't like. Ever since Tuck started asking too many questions, our plans have been going sideways. Ryan was a blessing in disguise with his skill for breaking in to highly secure facilities. His eyes followed her across the room until Tuck found out what I was. Sweetie, we got this, Kane smiled. We're in the final leg of destroying the last links to Kane Laporte. Megan began pacing the room. I don't know why you couldn't just have gotten plastic surgery. Then Dante and Lang wouldn't matter. Baby, I need to be that man you fell in love with, Kane explained while thinking, I need her to recognize me. 2 weeks, that's all I'm giving you to fix this mess. He stood, walking directly into her pacing path. I need you to hang on a little while longer. Then we'll discuss plastic surgery so that you can actually bring me home for the holiday instead of your little beau Ryan. Kane knew he needed to keep her focused. It wasn't her hacking skills that got her caught. It was her being irrational and doing something stupid. I like the sound of that, Megan smiled. I guess I should get to work while Gus is working on the other project. She rose to her tippy toes, planting a brief kiss on his lips. If you find Aaron, make sure you have Gus help you out. Clearly, Aaron's not as slow as you originally thought. He got away from you before. If they could procure Ryan and Aaron, it could reveal the location of Tuck's vault. Then he could stop this charade and be with the woman he loved. The only woman he ever loved. She used the screw she managed to loosen from the dresser to try to pry the food window open. After working at it for hours, she managed to open it. Damn it, she mumbled as she looked out into darkness. She could hear voices, but she couldn't make out everything they were saying. Brooklyn was losing track of the days. Some days the curtains didn't even open. The only sign of life outside her cell was the window sliding back to put her food in. She peered out of the slot. The next thing she knew, she was being grabbed from behind. Her body slammed against the wall. A knife was placed to her neck with a warning that nosiness would get her killed. She felt a needle in her flesh. As her body slithered down the wall, she could see him walk through the wall. He almost looked like a ghost going through it, but she knew there had to be a hidden door. When Brooklyn came to, she determined every time the curtain closed, she searched for the door. She didn't care if they were watching. From the bits and pieces of the conversation she overheard, she was fairly sure they had no intentions of letting her get out of here alive. Her mind went to Dante and the moment he reminded her to fight for her life. Brooklyn had just hung up on the phone for one of the most devastating calls of her life. Her mind hadn't even processed what the nurse had told her. The tears began to build up in her eyes. As she reread the information, she looked up on the diagnosis. She could hear her office phone ringing in the background. Taking a deep breath, she answered. Brooklyn Saunders, Brooke, are you okay? She thought she had disguised her pain by putting on her professional voice, but Dante picked up on the fact that something was off. It's not a good time, Dante. I'll have to. Every other time I haven't called you in a while, I'm Mr. Nines. Now you're referring to me as Dante? I know something's seriously wrong. Dante's car door slammed in the background. Brooklyn grabbed a tissue. I'm having a bad day. I'm downstairs, Dante stated. Brooklyn reached for a tissue, feeling another moment coming on. Dante, I'm not taking no for an answer. Either you come down or I'll come up. There was silence on both ends of the phone. Fine, I'll come down. Brooklyn hung up, then checked her face before going down to meet Dante. Her heels click-clacked across the tile of the lobby floor as she walked towards Dante's tall figure near the door. As she neared him, he opened his arms, wrapping them around her. Immediately, Brooklyn broke down, crying uncontrollably. Dante gently rubbed up and down her back until the crying subsided. They completely ignored the onlookers in the lobby. I'm sorry, Brooklyn sniffed, trying to pull it together. She stepped back. I'm fine. He grabbed her hand and started walking towards the couch in the lobby. Brooklyn told him the devastating news about her health and the results of the biopsy. I can't stop thinking of all the things I won't have the opportunity to do. Dante guided them to the couch. Brooke, baby, all we are ever granted is today. I know that, but no buts. He held her hand. I know the news the nurse told you wasn't good, but don't die before your time. Don't walk around here lifeless and defeated. Regardless of if you're healthy or sick, you have to live your life for today. The tears flowed from her eyes. I can't. Brooklyn, you're a survivor. Don't you dare give up on me now. If life has dealt you these cards, then play them to the best of your ability. But don't let them play you. Did you hear what I told you they told me? Brooklyn had read the statistics and knew her chances were not good. It didn't help that the few people she knew that had the same type of cancer died within months of their diagnosis. Yes, I did. Do you have a battle on your hand? Yes. He lifted her chin and stared into her eyes. But every day is a gift. It doesn't matter how bad things get. Someone wasn't granted that gift today. So every day you're granted is an opportunity for things to get better. Choose to live. Don't you dare condemn yourself to death before your physical body makes its exit. Her voice trembled as she spoke. I'm just so scared. It's okay to be afraid, but don't allow that fear to end your life prematurely. Brooklyn hugged him tightly, grateful that today was the day he chose to return to her life. She faced months of frustration, trying to get a follow-up appointment with the doctor. Brooklyn couldn't understand why the doctors didn't think it was urgent enough to squeeze her in. Dante always deposited good seeds in her life, and during that time, he kept her focused on living her life, fighting for it, and not the fact that she might not have the opportunity to experience growing old. When she finally got in to see the doctor and he reviewed the file, it turned out that the nurse had made a horrible mistake when relaying the information. Dante will come for me. He will make it to me in time, Brooklyn thought as she continued to reflect on Dante's effect on her life. Chapter 28. Hunter watched Dante and Lang review the file he delivered to them for a few minutes before they turned to him with a look that terrified him. Lang grabbed her laptop. "What?" Hunter asked. "This isn't good for Brooklyn." Dante stood and Lang handed Hunter the laptop. Hunter's eyes scanned the screen. "Okay, what do you need me to do?" "Those are all the properties Kane Laporte owned prior to death. Clearly, his defense didn't bankrupt him. So if you have your contacts search these locations to make sure Brooklyn isn't there, we can continue to dig." Hunter took several pictures of the screen with his cell phone, then stood and handed the laptop back to Lang. "I'll check in with you later," he said, heading for the door to give Vince the new information. "Where are you going?" Dante asked. Hunter stopped near the door to pass the list of possible locations on. "I want you to pass the information along, but we need you to stay here and help us figure out the file and locate any new properties that may be listed under Kane's alias," Dante muttered, almost inaudible. "We also need someone that had no previous history with Laporte to keep me and Lang seeing clearly." "Sorry, I assumed that you and Lang would want to do your thing without me in the way." He returned to where they were. "Normally we would, but this file may lead us to the leverage we need to get Brooklyn back alive." Lang handed the file to Dante, who passed it to Hunter. "We need all the help we can get." Lang inquired, "Did any of the numbers make sense to you?" "The only thing I could think of was they were reference numbers. They almost remind me of tracking numbers when you ship something out," Hunter said, looking at the file as he walked over to sit across from Lang at the dining room table. "You may be onto something." Lang stood, grabbing her messenger bag. "Did you bring your laptop?" She glanced back at Dante as she returned to her seat. Dante replied, "Yeah, it's in the truck." "After Hunter gets the information to his contact, we'll work on seeing if we can crack this code in the file. You find the addresses of properties under Kane's aliases." Dante stared at Lang's stressed face. His eyes were gentle as he began to ask, "Are you sure you're—" "I'm good," Lang stated, interrupting him. "You're wasting time." She cut her eyes over at Hunter as if to say, "You too." Hunter immediately stopped watching the exchange and texted the pictures of dresses to Vince. Dante exited out of the back door, and Lang returned to her laptop. When Dante returned, his eyes were lit up like a kid on Christmas Day. Lang looked up at Dante. "Spit it out." "Let's hack the hacker. That might lure Megan to us. She has to know Brooklyn's location." Hunter's phone pinged. Hunter read the message out loud. "Word on the street is there's someone willing to pay top dollar for information that will lead them to find Tuck's friend Aaron or the whereabouts of Ryan." "How about we use Ryan to bait Megan out of the shadows?" Dante suggested as he set up his laptop on the dining room table. "Only problem with that is that we can't be sure if they're looking for him to kill him or have him break into something. It's probably both." Lang emailed their company's computer hacker to see if he could set a digital trap for Megan. "Ryan as bait might work. If we can get Megan, we will have something to trade," Hunter stated. "Megan is so dedicated to Kane that it's not likely that she'll give him up easily." "What if they send Gus?" Lang asked, trying to be cautious. "Look, let's go back to our task at hand. We'll keep the idea of Ryan as bait in our back pocket if he's willing," Dante said, knowing it would give him time to formulate an efficient plan to use Ryan as bait. "One thing you need to keep in mind is Ryan's track record for being sucked in by women," Hunter stated. Every time Ryan got arrested, it was due to an entanglement with some shady woman. Don't give Megan time to get in his head and convince him you were the bad guys. They returned to working on deciphering the file. They had been at it for hours. Lane was able to trace the numbers to the special delivery log from Tuck's office, but they couldn't figure out several entries that had the letters TAIV in front of the numbers. Hunter stood to stretch his legs. I just have one question. Why would Tuck put his shipping information in a folder that basically contained information on Kane and his wife? Dante looked up from his computer. Yes. I assumed it was because this was what Megan was looking for before she went missing, Lang supplied. Dante got up, walked over to Lang, and looked over her shoulder. He asked, "Did Tuck have anything highlighted?" "I don't think so," she replied. "Well, let me make sure." Flipping through the file again, she stopped and slipped one page out of the stack. He just had this sticky note to check the uncollected TAIV accounts, which are the numbers we still haven't been able to figure out. Hunter glanced at his phone. Vince hadn't gotten back to him, which meant the addresses were awash. Dante's computer beeped. He rushed over and looked at the screen. Whoa, I think I know where Brooklyn is. His fingers flew over the keyboard. Talk and type, Dante. Lang turned away from her laptop to look at him. I know you can multitask. He pointed to his screen. McNair purchased a remote property 6 months ago, he said as he read the details that popped up on the computer. My gut is saying that this is the location where Brooklyn is being held. You want me to send an updated email to the rest of the team? Lang asked, watching Dante as he nodded his head. We need to get over there now. Dante looked over at Hunter. You're going to have to set this one out. We need you to stay back and keep looking for possible locations just in case we're wrong. Hunter's phone rang. He got up, moving quickly into the kitchen as he watched Dante and Lang check their guns and put on their bulletproof gear. Hey, what do you have? Vince confirmed Hunter's suspicion. Brooklyn wasn't at any of the addresses you sent over. We think we found her location. Hunter peeked out the kitchen to see Dante talking to one of the men that had escorted him in when he arrived. Quick update, Vince said. It seems Kane adopted the alias of Alec McNair from the man who helped him fake his death. What he didn't know was the name is an alias for low-level employees of an elite criminal network. Hunter looked out, not sure why Dante and Lane had not left yet. That doesn't sound good. It's not good, Vince sighed. They're currently looking for the person that vouched for Kane when he came to Tuck pretending to be Alec McNair. That's a problem. Tuck managed to send a warning to the Alec McNair he thought he was going into business with. He paused as if he was trying to convey to Hunter the real implications of what he was saying. I'm going to need to shut you out of the details from here on out. Hopefully, Dante and Lang will bring Brooklyn home tonight, and none of this will matter. Dante came and stood in the doorway of the kitchen. Hunter held his finger up. We don't have time to wait, Dante said through his teeth. Lang and I need to get over to the property now, but we can't afford to waste time and resources checking out this location if your source is giving you a better lead. Vince was silent on the phone, no doubt listening to what Dante was saying to Hunter. He said, Look, I gotta go. Let your friends know to be careful while digging into Alex McNair. Don't go further back than when Kane faked his death. Otherwise, you'll know trouble like you've never known before. Vince ended the call. Lane came in the room and Hunter looked at her and Dante, both of them poised and ready to go. Is there anything new we should know? Dante asked. Well, Lane stared at Hunter's face as he struggled to decide whether to say something. Spit it out, she demanded. Hopefully it won't matter, he answered, deciding that the information Vince had passed along wasn't vital to them checking the location for Brooklyn. Go find Brooklyn. Lang, stay here with Hunter and find out what he knows, Dante commanded. I'll take Robert with me. Dante, He flashed her a stern look and she left it alone. Okay, I'm on it. Go bring Brooklyn home safely. Dante bolted out the door without another word. What you have had better be good, she stated, folding her arms and staring at Hunter. Laporte adopted the alias of a man that helped him fake his death. Only I get the feeling that whoever faked Kane's death wasn't necessarily the real Alec McNair. Hunter didn't know how much he should tell her. According to my contact, if we start digging into the McNair alias prior to Kane faking his death, it could be a very deadly expedition for us. Damn. Lang went back to her computer. Do you know who really helped Kane fake his death? Who? Hunter moved closer to her. Shit, she exclaimed as she dug through her bag, pulled out her notebook, and flipped through her pages. Maybe the goon is the beginning of Kane's life as Alec McNair. I'm sorry, you aren't making sense. He pulled out the chair next to Lang. Gus has to be Kane's help. We need to find out what Kane has over him, Lang explained as she went back to the information she had poured on Gus. Even if Dante finds Brooklyn today, we need to shut Kane and his people down. Hunter took out his phone. Give me the information you have on Gus, and I'll pass it along to my contact. Lang shared the information with Hunter about Gus. Whatever Kane was holding against him, I hope that your contact can find out. He will. If we could take out Kane's muscle, we can definitely slow him down and flip things in our favor, Lang stated, sounding energized. Let's get back to looking for possible locations for Brooklyn, just in case the location Dante headed to isn't the right one. Aaron couldn't believe he finally made it. Tech had always told him that if anything happened to him, he should come here right away. He had already learned the hard way that Megan had a way of using the computer to track down anyone she wanted to locate. For that reason, he now avoided his home, ditched his car and all electronic devices, and used only cash instead of credit cards. As he approached the door, it opened. Tuck's wife cautiously looked out at him. I expected you sooner. I didn't want to bring company with me. Aaron stepped past her into the house. I know, that's why Tuck loved you. She closed the door behind him. You're always careful. He followed her into the living room. Aaron always appreciated Tuck for trusting him despite his issues. I'm ready to work. Megan is still diligent looking for you. We'll sit tight while certain things fall into place. Then we go to work. Mrs. Holder walked over to her desk and turned the secret system back on. Aaron set his backpack next to the couch and took a seat. I can. Aaron, I'm not underestimating you. I'll treat you just as Tuck did. Because you take a little longer to process information, I won't bother you with all the details. But I'll trust you to execute the job with the basic information I give. Is that good for you? She walked into the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and grabbed 2 beers. Tuck always told him to let that thing that people saw as his weakness become his strength. Yes, people always assumed that he was dumb. Tuck told him not to bother to correct them. So people often spoke freely around him because they thought he wouldn't understand. He appreciated Tuck filtering the information so that if anything went wrong, Aaron would never have to lie. If he was ever questioned, he never had to worry about saying the wrong thing, since quick thinking wasn't always his strong suit under extreme pressure. After opening the beer, she handed it to Aaron. Megan and her husband will pay for what they did. We just have to make sure that Dante Nines get the information that Tuck wanted him to have. Once that information is delivered to me, I'll entrust you to get it where it needs to go. It would be my pleasure, he stated, taking a sip of beer. Let me show you to your living quarters. I'll start giving you the information you need to perform your task in the morning. Hope you enjoyed today's story. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be and stay blessed.